Welcome back to Industry Champions. We are here with a group of amazing powerhouse women, and I'm excited for you to meet them today. I have a wonderful co-host, Christine Campbell Rapin with Clear Acceleration, Inc. Christine, thank you for joining me.
It's awesome to be here. Super excited to bring this conversation to the platform, and thank you for gracing us with this.
Oh, yeah. So tell me, who did you bring with you today?
So I wanted to bring women who are changing the world, who are not going to talk a good game, but just really walk a good game, and invite you to go with them. So I'm excited by three incredible women I want to introduce you to. The first is my very good friend, Sherri Combs. I want to tell you she is an incredible human being, changing the world, helping make it super safe for you to have support for your senior, your mom, your family, and not have any risk that who's being brought into the home could be a convicted felon. And she's going to vet them, validate them, give you a safe place to go find them. And I think it's awesome work. We really want to support what Sherri's doing. And I want to introduce you to Melissa Douaire. She is also an incredible human being. What I love about her is she's got the bravery to step into a very high volatile conversation. Money transference, and the great wealth transfer that's happening. How do we support financial advisors to be able to have great listening skills and hold people during a very turbulent time? And she's going to help train them, support them, so that you, when you need to have that support, you can trust you're in really good hands. And I'm super excited about that. And then the third incredible woman I want to introduce you to is Kristen Christy. Super excited for this because she has been a huge champion. She actually is the person who spearheaded the 888 crisis hotline that is available if you are in any kind of mental health crisis and you need somebody to talk to. We can now say really proudly that someone will answer the call. And through her own personal story of loss and suicide, she said, not on my watch. We got to fix this, and we got to bring this kind of support and conversations about this to everyday conversations. And I'm so proud all three of these women want to come share their stories and their platforms to us today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of you for joining the show today and for being a champion in your industry. Christine, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Clear Acceleration, Inc., and then we'll go to everybody else.
I love it. So I really think that small business is the backbone of every economy. It changes who we are, how we show up, and how we can create big ripples of change. And there's never been a time when becoming a business owner has been easier. However, people have gotten really lost in the shiny objects. They've gotten lost in the technology, and they've gotten lost in the fact that people do business with business, and people do business with people first. And so I actually run a global consulting company helping the emerging entrepreneur build their first $1 million in revenue by building good foundations where a handshake is your word, where you show up with an integrity, and you actually create the change that we want. So we help people actually, as business owners, know what to say, how to say it, who to say it to, so that we can get to that let's create big ripples of change. And when we do that, the results that we want are not just possible, they become your reality. And then I think there's so many great ripples when that happens. Instead of seeing people starve, discipline, drive themselves crazy, trying to figure out entrepreneurship, I'm in the weeds of saying, let me show you piece by piece, step by step, because what you want to do and how you want to serve, we won. And let me show you how to win more often. So I'm super excited to support entrepreneurs all over the States, all over the world, in fact, to win predictably. Your next client.
Beautiful. I love what you said there, helping them win. And that's exactly what you're doing. So, Sherri, let's go to you. How are you helping seniors win these days?
We build stronger communities by fighting senior fraud, by making the good guys easy to find. And so that's the idea, is that we platform small business owners in particular, because the way we search for help in this country is very fragmented and broken. The search engines are registered as data mining companies, and they kind of fell into the directory search mode by mistake. And so it wasn't really built around that model. So we're taking a new model where we fully vet the people that are on there through reputation, license, and insurance check, background and criminal checks as well, to make sure that the people that you're inviting in your home when you need them the most are safe and will care for your parents the way that you would want them to be cared for.
That is so, so important. And there's no more vulnerable population than our seniors these days financially with AI and all the fraud that is happening because AI is rapidly changing. People are able to call and make up voices through the deep fakes and things like that. Are those things that you help out with?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, I trademarked the prove it method. So before you open it, click it, buy it, or wire it, you prove it. And that stands for pause, read the red flags, which we teach, outreach for a second opinion, verify independently, or end the transaction. And I speak at senior centers all over the country, teaching this method and supplying them with a 30-page booklet for their resources, all the resources in there that they need, all the education that we're doing for that to help get the word out. The law enforcement services truly are just overwhelmed. They're so overrun with the fraud claims. It's still important to report. It really is, but it's going to take a public-private partnership to do that. And we take on a big part of the education piece with our nonprofit, and we incorporate all of that. So every member of Silver Streak Senior Services gets a copy of that fraud fighter handbook as well. It's part of their membership package. And we're very committed to fighting senior fraud, but just educating you wasn't enough. It really isn't. Education needs to also partner with, well, where do we go to find good people? Right? So you might have all this education, but when you're on the search engines or you're in social media groups, how do you tell the good guys from the bad guys? And there's really no way to do that. The bad guys have often more money, right, than the local small business owner who's, a veteran-owned business, as about 70% of the businesses on my platform are, and they can't be found very easily without spending a lot of money. And they don't have that because they're not defrauding people out of their life savings. So they don't have the money for the big, expensive stuff. I'm not saying every business that has that kind of money is fraudulent, but you kind of get the idea here. So we make it easy for them and affordable for them. And we put a fair platform back out there that's super easy and intuitive for seniors to navigate, for caregivers and families, children of these seniors to navigate and find the resources they need, whether it's government, nonprofit, for-profit, or education.
Wow, that is really, really helpful for all demographics, not even just seniors, but I mean, for anyone, even my age, to know the difference, because people are getting messed with left and right when it comes to their finances. So yeah. I love what you are doing. So
fraud knows no boundaries.
This is true. So talking more about money, let's talk to Money Melissa. Melissa, tell me about what you offer.
Well, I teach wealth managers to show up when moments are the most uncomfortable, right? With confidence and clarity, and the ability to navigate conversations that families have been avoiding or that are charged with a lot of emotion. Any kind of life event that happens, of course, we have death, and that's inheritance and widowhood, but we also have divorce, retirement, diagnosis, special needs, children, caregiving. All of these events, these life events, have a grief component to it, right? There's an ending that needs to be acknowledged and a new beginning that needs to be addressed. And by training, your wealth manager, your financial planner is a numbers person, but they have not been trained to hear the emotion and hold it with you and hold that space. So instead of teaching advisors what to say, I'm teaching them how to listen. And one of the frameworks that I use as an umbrella is hearing, right? That's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to sit down and ask questions with a curiosity. And then you're going to explore what that means. Where are your options? How are you feeling? What are your priorities and your values about this wealth and this money and movement and what's happening? And then really learning where you can go and what choices you have. And we know that choice is empowerment, right? And then we like to have the wealth managers walk people through and to a decision that leaves them without resentment or regret or guilt on the other side of it, which is a really big deal when we're transitioning, right? We want to make sure that we've been intentional about what we're doing so that we're not left with uncertainty. And helping the wealth managers hold this space is so important because we all give them these intimate conversations and details of our lives. So I think My big grandiose objective here is to really turn the industry upside down and not make the conversations just about portfolios, but the emotions and the values and the fears and hopes that all are related and compared in those numbers. We have $124 trillion that's going to be transferred in the next 22 years. In the next 7 years, it's going to go from 18 trillion to 37 trillion that women will be inheriting, right, either horizontally from their widowhood or as inheritors from their parents. And in this movement, we need to be really cognizant of what women want to do with their money. They're very, very competent, but they're also much more aligned with philanthropy and value and understanding why we're connected to our wealth in more sentimental, meaningful ways than traditionally men have been.
This is beautiful, and it's really good to hear, because we've all sat down with that tone deaf financial guy who's the guru, but he's not able to be there with you and hear you and what you want to do with your money versus what they think you should do with their money. I feel like we've all been in that situation. So that's great that you're able to help them have that emotional conversation and hold space for each person that they're working with. It's so needed this day and age.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk, Kristen. I want to hear how you're supporting people with their mental health in that dire time of crisis. Tell me more about 888.
Yeah, 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States. It was created or activated in July of 2022. It was so popular that Canada adopted it in November of 2023. And it is available from overseas military bases. So it has gone global. And it was born out of necessity. Like so many platforms, it came from a lived experience. I lost my first husband 18 years ago to suicide after a deployment with the United States Air Force, and the aftermath that our family went through, I don't want any other family to go through. I think as human beings, we want to feel protected, respected, and connected. And that's what I want to bring to people, is that feeling that they are protected, respected, and connected, especially the connection piece, that loneliness. Suicide in the United States is the 11th most cause of death. In Canada, it's 9th. Worldwide, we lose over 700,000 people taking their life a year. It's not just 700,000 people, it's 700,000 families, it's 700,000 communities, and 700,000 futures that are affected by that. And in my 18 years of research and just living through all of this, I have found my purpose and my passion through a horrible tragedy, and just hopefully helping people want to live. It's not that they want to die, it's they want to live. And if I can help people as they're going through crisis, plus their loved ones who really want to help them, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm made for. That's my calling.
That's beautiful. Way to take the hardest situation of your life and turn it into something so incredible that's going to change and save so many others. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Kristen, for sharing. It just warms my heart, because suicide is the one preventable disease, if you want to call it a disease. It's 100% curable, and curable as long as you're there on the front end supporting whatever that person's going through.
Right.
So,
it takes all of us, right? And when we're in crisis, that's the least likely time that we're going to reach out. So it's up to those of us who are noticers and can be with them and care for them, and that feeling of being protected and respected and connected.
I love that. Connected, respected, connected. What was the
Yeah,
third one?
We want to feel
Connected.
protected, respected, and connected.
Protected. I
Yep.
love it.
Yep.
Thank you. So, Christine, back to you. I know you came prepared as a co-host of the show with some questions for these wonderful women. Wanted to pass the baton to you.
Thank you. I would love to talk about how do we take a step, because these are all incredible things. And I'm sure the audience is going, wow, I'm so glad somebody is, first off, championing this, talking about a brave conversation. But I'd love to ask each of these ladies, like, if this is something we need to get involved with, how do we actually start? Because I think sometimes the biggest challenge everybody faces is, sounds good, I'm glad somebody else is doing it, but how can we actually step forward here? Because it is time to step forward. So each of you, if you would share, how do we get started getting involved in the platforms, the processes, the conversations? How can we assist you?
So I'll go ahead and start, and I'll take that question. So for me, it was I was brokenhearted over the fraud that I saw. I had been in banking. I was very successful in that for many years, and just watching people get ripped off over and over and over again was just unacceptable. It was heartbreaking, like I said. And then it happened even in my own family, and watching small business owners struggle to be found locally. And I thought something has to be done about this. And I named the idea, and we always have these armchair quarterback moments, right? Where we can solve all the problems of the world. And then I jumped online to look to see if anybody was doing that, and I could start referring that. And I looked high and low, couldn't do that. And so you start mapping out, what kind of system would it be? What can I see? And you make the blueprint. And then you start testing that idea with other people, saying, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. There's also lots of cautionary tales out there where people are kind of championing them when you start doing it. That some of those people, you have to surround yourself with the people who can see you in a different light. So I think the first thing you have to do is, sometimes people freeze us in the moment in time, and they'll say, well, you're so successful at this, why would you give that up to do this? Or, oh, be careful. And they mean well, and I get that, but you do have to have a lot of grit, drive, and determination. But the thing I would say is that it does not have to be perfection, right? The best test of that is to put your product out there and get the feedback, and then address those bottlenecks. And it is not for the faint of heart, but when you have a mission, like all of us ladies do in this show, it not just carries you, it pulls you through those tough times that you will inevitably face. So I think having a mission-driven purpose and having that high level of commitment is really the number one thing. And then to do, and then supporting each other in that by using it where we can, promoting it where we can, spreading the word, sharing that with our friends and families and neighbors, and asking for that, not being afraid to ask for the support that you need.
Beautiful. Yes, Melissa, let's get your take on this.
Yeah, so as a culture, we are grief averse, right? So anytime there's loss, we avoid, and we want to jump to the toxic positivity and move forward and be grateful. Well, I'm not against gratitude. However, we need space and time to sort of lament and understand the emotions that we're feeling when we have a life transition. And we want wealth managers to show up because A, it's the right thing to do, but B, it also builds trust and reliance in that relationship. And you never forget who was there for you when you need it the most. And when people do not show up in your grief, whether it's death or non-death grief, it's a secondary betrayal, because the people you think that will be there to support you are not. So it's the right thing to do, but it also, from a business perspective for wealth managers, is a good business play, right? Because women refer above generation, below generation, and sideways. We talk about the people who have served us well, who listen to us, who validate us. And so when you have that skill set, you're going to increase your referrals and therefore increase your revenue. So it's smart business, but also you get to be a better person. You get to be that hero that was there when someone needed you the most, and normalizing these conversations. So as a culture, we all need to get a little bit more comfortable about loss and transition, because we love wins, but not losses. And they're inevitable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we also want to truncate the grief process into these 5 stages that really don't exist. And this is a public service announcement for all of you that are still thinking grief is 5 stages. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was brilliant in observing terminally ill patients accept their death. And that's what the 5 stages are. So I know Kristen deals with this in grieving families. It's not linear. It's not forthright. It is a journey that needs to be held with care and compassion and tenderness. And when you're going through these moments, you're going to have cognitive disarray, inability to focus, inability to sleep, sleeping too much, not eating, eating too much. There's all kinds of physical and emotional and psychological ramifications around this. And when you're doing business with someone, you want to attend to the fact that they may not be their usual on the mark person because of the grief that they're experiencing. And how can you support that? The way to get this across is advisors need to know where their triggers are, where their losses are, what conversations are they avoiding through their own self-awareness, and then address those, right? And then they're going to be able to, with training, hold that space when it becomes uncomfortable. When someone's crying in front of you, it's okay. And actually, it's medicinal. Tears are medicinal. So if they feel safe enough to have that release, that means that they're trusting you, not only with the money of the moment, but the hopes and the fears that are keeping them awake at night. And that's sacred ground. It really is really sacred ground when someone is sharing the most intimate details of their life with you. Mm-hmm. And I think it really is a cultural revolution. Not only do wealth managers need to be having these conversations and understanding loss that comes into their offices, but HR departments, right? None of us check our humanity at the door when we're walking in someplace or have problems to solve, whether it's divorce, death, retirement, a diagnosis. We're all carrying something that needs to be attended to. And one of the phrases that I think would be great if everyone could carry is that any kind of loss craves meaning and connection, right? And we're seeing this with Kristen. She is making meaning out of the devastating loss of her husband, and it's being validated as a real need, right? Yeah. That's the wounded healer, and it's so, so powerful.
Absolutely. Melissa, thank you so much for that. And Kristen, I did see you shaking your head quite a bit during Melissa talking. So share your take on this.
Yeah, I'm sure your audience has had a great idea at 3 a.m. in the morning. And it seems so big, and I'm not smart enough to do it. I don't have the connections. It's a great idea, but, right? I had one of those 12 years ago or 16 years ago, but I became obsessed with it. And it started because I took the first step. I was scared out of my mind, but I had this idea of a 3-digit lifeline. And I just started socializing it within my little community, and then it got bigger and people came alongside. So I really want your audience members to think about the next time they have a great idea, just take one step and follow it through, because now 18 years after Don's death, and I am now an international speaker. Organizations bring me in to help teach their employees and their association members how to have a very uncomfortable conversation. It's not uncomfortable for me anymore, but how to have that conversation. Because as Melissa said, when we're talking about things like that, we avoid them. But how not to avoid them, how to have that sense of belonging. And it's really a perspective shift. My friends call me a hope dealer or an emotional support human. And so I come into those organizations and really spend quality time to help with their culture of understanding, of communication, and of community. And it sets my soul on fire whenever I get the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, each of you, for all that you're doing for your communities and for the world, if I may, because it is trickling out, and you are all powerhouses and champions of what you're doing. So thank you, Christine. Thank you for being here and being my co-host today. What a pleasure. I appreciate you all.
It is all about go time. Let's go fix the world's biggest problems.
Yes.
Together, right?
Yeah.
Together.
It is go time. So
Yeah.
thank you all. And viewers, we thank you for tuning in to another episode of Industry Champions. If you want more information about each of these incredible women, you can check it out underneath this interview, and we have all their profiles right there. We'll see you in the next episode of Industry Champions.